Okay, so we're going to go over your quiz, and the first question looks like it's an area problem, and we're given three sides. A is 5, B is 12, and C is 13. So the side area says we have to figure out S first. Uh, 5 plus 12 plus 13, well, this is 25 plus 5 is 30, half of that is 15. And then from here, our area, using Heron's formula, is 15 times 15 minus 5, 15 minus 12, 15 minus 13, inside of the square root. So let's see what that is. Alright, so I typed it in, and I got an area of 30 square units. For the second problem, it's another area problem, and it says that side B is 14, angle C is 110 degrees, and angle B is 25 degrees. So it looks like we were given two angles, so we could easily find the third. 180 minus 110 and 25 is 45 degrees. And we have an angle side area problem. So the area for this would be 1/2 of B squared. Sine of B goes in the bottom. I'm going to put sine A and sine C on top. So I'll plug in for those. We're going to have 1/2 times 14 squared times the sine of 45 times the sine of 110 divided by the sine of 25. And that comes out to 154.1 square units. Problem number 3. It's another area problem where we know that side A is 68, side C is 110, and angle C is 100 degrees. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. A, B, C. So A is 68, side C is 110, and angle C is 100 degrees. Alright, well this one's a little bit tricky because we don't have a side problem, so we have some options here. We could do a law of sines, so I'm going to do 110 over the sine of 100, and that's going to equal 68 over the sine of A. So 68 times the sine of 100 divided by 110, and we're going to take the inverse sine of that, gives us an angle A of 37.5. And if we know that angle, we could easily get the other one, 100 plus the 37.5, and we're going to do 180 minus that, gives us this angle is 42.5 degrees. Well, now we have a few different options. We can get the other side and use Heron's formula. We could use the angle side formula, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to pick side A. So my area is going to equal 1/2 side A squared with sine of A on the bottom. And I'm going to do sine of B on top times sine of C. That's what the formula is. So I'm going to type into my calculator 0.5 times 68 squared times the sine of 42.5 times the sine of 100 divided by the sine of 37.5. My calculator is telling me that that's 26.8. Square units. Okay, so moving down to the next one. It says the angles of elevation to an airplane from 2 points A and B on the ground level are 52 and 72 degrees. Okay, or 55 and 72 degrees. The points A and B are 2.2 miles apart, and the airplane is east of both points in the same vertical plane. Find the altitude of the plane. So we have our 2 points, and the airplane is east of those. All right, that's the Concorde. And we have points A and B on the ground, so I'm going to draw my points like that. We have the grounds right here. And it's saying that the points are 55 degrees and 72 degrees. So this looks like the bigger angle, 72 degrees. This is 55 degrees. And points A and B are on the ground. So A would be the 55 because that comes first. B is the 72. We are looking to find the height of the airplane, or the altitude. It says that the points are 2.2 miles apart. 2.2 miles. Okay, got it. So, one thing that I'm thinking is if we could figure out what this side is, then we have a right triangle, and we could use some kind of right triangle trigonometry to do that. So in order to solve this, if that angle is 72, and we have another angle that's supplementary to it, 180 minus the 72 is 108. And then we could say that, let's see what we could do here. We know that this angle then, 180 minus the 108 and 55, is 17 degrees. All right, so now we know that we have the 2.2 miles over the sine of 17 degrees is equal to side y over the sine of 55. And if we do the math here, 2.2 times the sine of 55 divided by the sine of 17, we get that that side y is 6.2 miles. Well, now we have a right triangle. And in that right triangle, we know that if this is a 90-degree angle, 180 minus the 90 and 72 would give us this angle is 18 degrees. And if we take the cosine of that 18 degrees, we would get the height of the airplane over 6.2. Or another way we could have done this is using the 72. The sine of the 72 degrees would equal the height over the 6.2. No matter which way you do it, 6.2 times the cosine of 18, or in degree mode, I'm getting the height is 5.9 meters, or 5.9, miles. And with the sine, 6.2 times the sine of 72 is exactly the same thing, 5.9 miles. Okay, one more question to go. Okay, so for the last question, we have a ship that's traveling due east. Okay, so here's a ship, and the ship's traveling 60 miles due east. Miles is with an MI. And then adjust its course 15 degrees northward. So 15 degrees north. So he's still heading east, but then he goes 15 degrees north. After traveling 80 miles in the new direction, how far is the ship from its point of departure? Alright, so that's what we have here. Alright, well, let's figure out some missing angles. This is a 90-degree angle. This thing is also a 90 degree, but we have 15 degrees. So 90 minus the 15 is 75 degrees, which means that this whole angle right here is 75 plus 90, which is 165 degrees. Well, this is an easy law of cosines problem. Oops. To figure out what x is, if you want, we could put letters here if that makes things a little bit easier for you. Law of cosine says b squared is equal to a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cosine of angle b. Alright, well, b squared is our x, right? And that's going to be 80 squared plus 60 squared minus 2 times 80 times 60 times the cosine of 165. So if we type this in, 80 squared plus 60 squared minus 2 times 80 times 60 times the cosine of 165. That comes out to 1927.2.8 whatever. And if we take that square root, that'll give us side B, which in this case is the distance that we wanted. That distance is 138.8 miles. Alright, so that's a review of your quiz. Stay tuned for today's lesson.